If you're thinking about buying a home in Pender County, you need to understand how the upcoming Pender County tax revaluation actually works. Not the version that gets passed around online, not the version people panic about, the real process. Because misunderstanding this is where people make bad decisions. Now, the revaluation date is January 1st. Now, that's the effective date when property values are reassessed. But that date alone does not determine what your taxes will be. And this is where most people get it wrong. So let's walk through this slowly and clearly. In North Carolina, counties are required to reassess property values on a regular cycle. Pender County used to operate on an 8-year revaluation cycle. That meant values could drift far away from reality before being corrected. Recently, Pender moved to a 4-year cycle. That change is a big deal. A 4-year cycle means values are adjusted more frequently, which generally leads to smaller, more manageable changes instead of crazy, massive swings all at once. For long-term planning, especially retirees, fixed income households, and people relocating from out of state, this creates more predictability. Now let's address the biggest misunderstanding of all. The idea of revenue neutral taxes. By state law, after a revaluation, the county must calculate and publish what's called a revenue neutral tax rate. This is the rate that would generate the same total tax revenue as the prior year. Assuming no growth and no changes, this is where people stop reading and where the myth begins. That revenue neutral rate is informational only. It is not the final tax rate. It is not the rate you will necessarily pay. It is a reference point. The actual tax rate is set later, typically in June, when the county commissioners adopt the new budget. That means two things can be true at the same exact time. Your home's assessed value can go up after revaluation and the tax rate can go down. Or your value can go up and the tax rate can stay the same. Or your value can go up and the rate can go up as well. So the revaluation does not decide that. The budget does. This is why people panic too early. They receive a new assessed value, compared to the old one, start freaking out, and immediately assume their taxes will skyrocket. At that point, no tax rate has even been set yet. All that's happened is valuation, not taxation. Understanding that timeline matters. January 1st establishes value. Spring is when values are reviewed and appealed if needed. June is when the commissioners set the actual rate. That's the sequence, super simple. Now let's talk about why the move from an 8-year cycle to a 4-year cycle matters so much going forward. So longer revaluation cycles tend to create sticker shock. When values aren't adjusted for many years, the correction feels extreme, even if it reflects real market changes that happen gradually. So shorter cycles smooth that out. In practical terms, this helps homeowners plan. It helps buyers understand future costs more clearly, and it reduces the chance of dramatic one-time jumps that catch everybody off guard. This is especially important in a place like Pender County, where growth has been steady but uneven. Some areas have seen rapid appreciation, others have moved much more slowly. A 4-year cycle keeps those differences from compounding too far. Now let's look at what this means if you're buying in 2025 or 2026. If you buy before the revaluation, your purchase price does not automatically become your assessed value, but it often becomes a strong data point. Counties look at recent sales to determine market value. So buyers should not assume current tax bills reflect future tax bills. That doesn't mean you shouldn't buy. It means you should understand timing. If you're planning to stay long-term, the 4-year cycle actually works in your favor. It reduces volatility and makes future adjustments more predictable. If you're on a fixed income, this matters even more. Predictability matters more than absolute numbers. So now let's address another misconception. People often hear revenue neutral and assume it means no one pays more. It's not how it works. Revenue neutral means the county collects the same total amount across all properties. Individual taxes can still go up or down depending on how a specific property's value has changed relative to others. If your home appreciated more than the county average, your share may increase even if the overall rate drops. If it appreciated less, your share may decrease. This is not a penalty, it's just simple math. And again, the final outcome depends on the rate set by commissioners, not just the valuation. That's why it's dangerous to react emotionally to early numbers, without context. Now, let's tie this back to the long-term planning. Pender County moving to a 4-year revaluation cycle signals something important. The county expects continued change. Growth, migration, and development are no longer considered temporary. They're being treated as ongoing. From a planning perspective, that's a positive sign. It means the county is adjusting systems to reflect reality instead of playing catch-up. For homeowners, that means fewer surprises. For buyers, it means clearer long-term cost forecasting. For retirees, it means less volatility in property tax planning. None of this means taxes will never go up. That's not realistic anywhere. What it means is the process becomes more transparent and manageable. The key mistake people make is reacting to headlines instead of understanding the sequence. Revaluation sets value. Budget sets taxes. Timing determines impact. If you understand that, you're already ahead of most people having this conversation. So here's the practical takeaway. If you see reassessed values early in 2026, don't panic. Review them, appeal if something looks wrong, but don't assume your tax bill until the actual rate is adopted. If you're buying, factor revaluation into your planning. Not as a reason to rush or delay, but as a known variable. If you're relocating from out of state, especially from areas with unpredictable tax systems, understand that North Carolina structure is more transparent than most, but only if you understand how it actually works. This is one of those topics where clarity matters more than opinion. If you want to talk through how the 2026 revaluation could affect a specific property, a potential purchase, or your long-term plans in Pender County, that's exactly what those planning conversations are for. No pressure, no sales pitch, just understanding the system before it affects you. You know, we're all about no hype, just real life. I appreciate you watching this video. Check out some of my other ones. I got a lot of answers to some of your questions. And as always, if you need anything, I'm here for you. And I'll see you on the next video.